I'm standing here with Kelly from Manchester, here in New Hampshire, and oh, I forgot what I was going to ask you about and what we were going to talk about, but I know that it was interesting.
It's really interesting. We are working on building freemanch.com.
Oh, that's right, freemanch.
Or freemanchester.com.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's going to be like, what's going to be the difference between freemanchester.com and the crazies over at freekeene.com?
Freekeene.com. I knew you were going to ask that.
All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Need those little hope candles.
I think that the activists over at Free Keene have done a great job with their website, with promoting the activism going on over there. I think there's a lot we can learn from them, but I think that the idea behind Free Manchester is not so much to be just the Manchester version of Free Keene.
There's Manchester, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
We are the big city here in New Hampshire. We probably have the most, or the largest concentration of activists. And I'd say here in Manchester there's probably more diversity in activism, so I think that you can expect to see a lot of that on Free Manchester. I know the Keene people are most well known for their civil disobedience, although there is political activism over there and other forms of activism, but we have a little of that here too.
I'm going to put trash in a milk container. It's illegal to put anything in a milk container other than milk, so this is a law breaking about to go on here.
We have a little civil disobedience, but we have a lot of political activism, we have a lot of agorism, a lot of community building and outreach, and that's really what I think is great about Manchester specific, is the diversity and the huge, really strong activism community here. As a contributor of Free Manch, I'm hoping that we can do a good job of showcasing the activism going on here and hopefully convincing people, prospective movers, that Manchester should be their destination.
So are we going to have a guy that like walks through fire like the freekeene.com?
How could I possibly anticipate that? That's such a weird question to ask.
But he did.
He did, yeah.
It's a bad idea, but here he goes.
Yeah!
Oh, I guess that's another thing that you might see different with Free Manch than with Free Keene. I think the Keeniacs like to focus a lot on obviously mostly promoting their activism and getting the word out, but they write a lot about sort of activism going on throughout the state and throughout the country, and then occasionally they'll focus on, say, like the horrible guy situation, the guy burning himself. I don't see us being a sort of a news source for just regular stuff going on here in Manchester, but very much activism specific.
Is there going to be any effort to piss off the businesses of downtown like Free Keene did?
See, now you're asking me what the activists here in Manchester are going to do. I think we do have some activists who are very much like the Keeniacs here in Manchester. So, but as far as the Free Manch itself, the blog, I don't see us, wanting to be terribly incendiary or divisive. Don't want to say
is the word peaceful people going to be hideously overused?
Not by me.
Okay.
Not by me.
Like cliche.
Oh my goodness, Dave.
Cliche city. All right. Okay. All right. I'm being very facetious today.
I know you
but anyway. Okay, well that's great. So the main thing, I guess, is that Free Manch, it already existed, but there just wasn't enough content there.
Yeah, it was originally launched like a year ago, but and I wasn't involved in it back then, so I don't know why it didn't pick up. But I should say a lot of credit does go to some of the bloggers over at Free Keene for kind of lighting the fire under our asses.
They really did, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Or like
and
the blogger.
Yes.
This is an Ian thing. Ian poked the fire, didn't he?
No, it was
really?
Skeptikos, I think is his name. Will Mays.
Oh, that's right.
He also goes by Will Mays.
Yeah,
He's a blogger. Actually, he's actually an activist over in Keene who's more interested in politics than civil disobedience.
Right, and he's a Keynesian, believe it or not.
Really?
He is the only Keynesian in the entire Free State Project.
We're gonna have to have a talk.
Yeah, well,
Come on, Will.
we've had our talk. Yeah.
But yeah, so they deserve some credit. They deserve credit for inspiring us and motivating us to get off of our asses and finally make this happen.
Nice. Well, good luck doing that. Oops, sorry, interrupting myself here. I started to ask her a question that I hadn't given her any kind of chance to think about, which is a question that requires thinking about, and of course, and that is the win-win question. You know, is it what's the win-win solution that people in Free Manch and authoritarians can come to together in Manchester?
Well, I would say a lot of the activists here in Manchester are really interested in outreach and in finding common ground with people who might not seem to have common ground, common or libertarian views. Probably the most recent and best example of this is the Occupy New Hampshire movement here that was based in Manchester. We did have activists, libertarian activists, who have been very heavily involved in the organization and the development of that, and not for the purpose of infiltrating, but for actually the purpose of working on and finding common ground. And I myself was surprised to see how, once you get to know a lot of these passionate, you know, politically passionate people who are not necessarily libertarians, that they're not necessarily the enemies. Many, I mean, some of them are, certainly, but most of them just haven't heard the argument yet. And if you're already have common ground with them, you're working towards sort of the same thing, then they're much more open, they're much more receptive to it, and I think that's the case with probably the majority of people.
Awesome. Yep, it's been my experience too. All right, thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Dave.
See you out there.
You too.